What you're about to hear isn't just a standard space update. Something has occurred far beyond the grasp of any telescope on Earth. It is an event so unforeseen that it is forcing NASA scientists to rethink everything they believed about interstellar encounters. Voyager 1, a spacecraft launched nearly half a century ago, has just been connected to a staggering attempt, an interception of an object that is not only alien to our solar system, but perhaps alien in a much deeper sense. This object is 3I Atlas, the third confirmed visitor from the stars. And the consequences of Voyager 1 attempting to align with it are now echoing through classified reports, mission control centers, and even ancient history. Something shifted when these two trajectories almost touched. Now, the world is left asking, did Voyager 1 actually make contact with something not of this world? Or did something else, something completely unexpected, respond first? Voyager 1 was launched in 1977 to explore the outer planets. But after finishing its mission, it simply kept going, venturing out of the solar system into the unknown. Now, in a move nobody predicted, multiple independent sources claim NASA has reactivated specific directional capabilities on Voyager 1 to attempt a passive intercept or observational alignment with 3I Atlas. The timing is suspiciously perfect. Discovered in July 2025, 3I Atlas is moving at over 150,000 miles per hour. It is an interstellar object unlike anything we have seen since Oumuamua and Borisov. But unlike those, Atlas is faster, bigger, and stranger. Voyager 1's trajectory, once thought to be set in stone, seems to have been subtly redirected via long-range communication pulses. This wouldn't mean physically turning the probe, but rather recalibrating its instruments to harvest data from a new region of space, exactly where Atlas was set to pass. If this is true, Voyager 1 has just become history's first interstellar observer to attempt contact with a body from another star system. Mere days after Atlas entered the proximity zone, where Voyager's sensors could feasibly record distant signatures, Earth's magnetosphere spiked. This was no solar flare. Instruments picked up ripples in the electromagnetic field consistent with directed energy events, but they didn't originate from Earth. The orientation and frequency of these fluctuations pointed outward into deep space, as if a signal had been bounced back. NASA refuses to confirm a connection, but insiders near the Jet Propulsion Laboratory report that Voyager's systems recorded unusual noise patterns, ones that do not match typical stellar interference or known cosmic background radiation. This is what has scientists truly panicked, because the only way Voyager could have received a signal that strong is if 3I Atlas wasn't just a passive chunk of rock and ice, but a responsive object capable of emitting its own electromagnetic footprint, something that listens and something that reacts. Back in the early 80s, Voyager was outfitted with a high-gain antenna and protocols designed to transmit data and images from Jupiter, Saturn, and beyond. Those systems were never intended to survive into the 2020s. Yet they did. NASA engineers have quietly conceded that minor recalibrations and upgrades were executed via deep space communication pulses. But here's where the story flips upside down. A transmission sent toward 3I Atlas using Voyager's instruments may have received a structured return signal. Leaked data from mission logs reveals that during the Atlas alignment window, Voyager's signal pattern returned with symmetric, periodic bursts far too orderly to be mere noise. Imagine beaming a message into the darkness and hearing a rhythm echo back, a rhythm that adheres to no known astrophysical behavior. Could it be language? Could it be data? Or was this just a cosmic coincidence too elaborate to ignore? Either way, scientists aren't sleeping well. Now, let's discuss something even more chilling. This isn't the first time this path has been traced. Ancient civilizations, like the builders of Göbekli Tepe and Machu Picchu, constructed monuments aligned with solstice angles that now match the entry trajectory of 3I Atlas. The odds of this being random are astronomically low. Combine that with ancient texts describing wanderers from the stars, objects that moved unlike stars or planets, appearing suddenly and vanishing without a trace, and the outlines of a disturbing pattern begin to emerge. What if these weren't myths? What if humanity has encountered interstellar visitors before and encoded their paths in stone for future generations? Voyager 1 might have just walked into a cosmic path mapped out over 11,000 years ago. The fact that we are only now catching up to what they may have already known is what terrifies modern scientists the most. 10 days following the Voyager/3I Atlas proximity event, a dataset surfaced anonymously on an encrypted server used by SETI researchers and astrophysicists. The files, signed only with the codename Echo Refraction 67, contained raw waveform sequences allegedly captured by Voyager 1's plasma wave instruments and magnetometer. At first glance, they looked like noise, irregular voltage fluctuations. But when researchers independently ran Fourier transformations and pattern recognition algorithms, something extraordinary appeared. A recursive harmonic sequence repeating every 19.7 minutes. The signal wasn't just structured, it was self-correcting. In other words, it adapted over time to improve clarity, as if compensating for Voyager's degraded antenna. That is impossible by any natural process we know. Either the signal was being mirrored, or someone, or something, was actively trying to be understood. This is when internal flags went up. Leaked metadata showed the signal had been flagged internally by NASA's Artificial Intelligence Anomaly System, designated SERENA, which only activates when transmissions exhibit non-human logic flow. The very system designed to detect alien contact had triggered. Voyager 1, though no longer equipped with propulsion, still carries antenna alignment systems and gyroscopes that allow engineers to slightly adjust its orientation. But on August 1, 2025, multiple amateur space tracking communities noticed an unexpected shift in Voyager 1's telemetry. Somehow, the probe had changed its transmission vector, reorienting toward a position that didn't match its last known navigational instructions. The change was subtle, only a few degrees, but in deep space, that kind of movement is monumental. What is even stranger is that this realignment pointed not at 3I Atlas's last known position, but toward its projected future path weeks ahead. It was as if Voyager was predicting where Atlas would go next, like a chess player anticipating a move before it happens. Engineers at JPL claimed the shift was a minor miscommunication with the Deep Space Network, but leaked internal memos suggest something more unnerving. The probe changed direction before command was sent. This leaves only two possibilities. Either Voyager is malfunctioning in a highly coordinated way, or something out there is controlling it remotely. As Voyager was quietly realigning in the dark, Earth-based telescopes using ultraviolet and infrared filters began detecting unusual activity around 3I Atlas itself. Most interstellar objects, like Oumuamua, showed expected behaviors: brightness fluctuations due to spin, tumbling, sublimating gases. But Atlas began to pulse. Its light curve flickered in an almost binary rhythm, on and off, in a cycle that precisely mirrored the timestamp of Voyager's last transmission burst. Even more bizarrely, Atlas slowed down. It showed a measurable decrease in velocity, not due to outgassing jets and not due to gravitational interaction. It decelerated as if something was exerting external control over it. NASA publicly dismissed this as an optical illusion caused by parallax error, but independent observatories across South America and Europe confirmed the change. For the first time in recorded history, an interstellar object had altered its heading and speed, and it did so only after Voyager reoriented. The question no one dares ask publicly is, was this a coincidence or a reply? Voyager 1 famously carries the golden record, a phonograph containing images, sounds, music, and scientific data from Earth, intended to explain our civilization to any potential discoverers. But what few people know is that the original digital blueprint of the record includes additional metadata never officially released to the public. Quantum encoding maps, coordinates, and even time-based logic puzzles embedded in its analog spiral. Now, decades later, a group of cryptologists at a European university claimed to have found something else, a mathematical anomaly hidden within the audio waveform of the sounds of Earth track. A single repeating tone, undetectable to the human ear, buried beneath the sounds of thunder, birds, and footsteps. When amplified and isolated, the frequency reveals a numerical prime sequence that appears to match the harmonic pulses Voyager received from 3I Atlas. Did we unknowingly include a trigger signal in the golden record? A signature of awareness meant to activate something in the future? And more importantly, did 3I Atlas recognize that signal? Because if it did, this was never a one-way transmission. It was a reciprocal handshake written in the mathematics of the stars. Shortly after the interaction spike between Voyager 1 and 3I Atlas, NASA's Deep Space Network registered an unexpected anomaly. The Voyager transmission logs included a data packet that didn't match the original code framework embedded in its onboard systems. When engineers attempted to decode the sequence, something shocking occurred. The system began rewriting its own decoding protocol. This had never happened in the probe's 48-year history. The software, originally limited to 8-bit telemetry interpretation, suddenly produced 128-bit outputs, as if the transmission itself carried an instruction set to remotely upgrade the receiver's capability. It was like giving a calculator a new operating system, not through hardware but through pure signal. One analyst put it bluntly, "It's like Voyager got smarter without anyone touching it." A probe built in the 1970s, operating with 1970s technology, had just processed a message in a format it was never designed to understand. Unless it was. Inside a leaked NASA presentation from 2018, there is a slide marked for internal use only, bearing the codename Watcher Protocol. The document outlines a theoretical scenario where a legacy spacecraft receives external contact and begins adaptive signal behavior that mimics artificial intelligence without hosting any onboard AI system. It also warns that if such behavior is detected, the spacecraft should no longer be treated as inert equipment, but rather as an active node in an alien communication system. Guess what term internal engineers used to classify Voyager 1 after the 3I Atlas signal? That's right, Watcher Active. From that point on, the probe was treated as an interface, not a mere object. Engineers were forbidden from manually interfering with its communication systems unless authorized by what the memo called the Contact Chain Directive. If this is true, it means NASA had always considered this scenario possible. And now it had happened. Shortly after Voyager's anomalous data spike, SETI's Allen telescope array went dark. Technically, it wasn't offline, but its public live feeds were cut. Their website temporarily removed the signal archive section, citing scheduled maintenance. Behind the scenes, researchers reported a sudden redirection of computing resources toward one isolated frequency range, the same band where Voyager's signal had spiked. Simultaneously, SETI insiders began receiving national security notices urging them not to discuss recent findings on open forums. This blackout mirrored what happened after Oumuamua, but this time the reaction was far more intense. One anonymous source compared it to an EMP drill, except the target wasn't Earth. The entire team had been instructed to act as though something, or someone, might already be listening in. Was this damage control? Or were authorities trying to prevent a signal feedback loop, one that could trigger a larger chain of responses far beyond our control? The strangest twist in this unfolding mystery didn't come from NASA, but from a university research group in Kyoto. In a paper submitted just a week after the Voyager incident, they proposed a revision to the decades-old monolith hypothesis, the idea that spacefaring civilizations plant passive beacons across galaxies, waiting for intelligent species to mature enough to activate them. According to their paper, 3I Atlas might not be a spaceship, but a technological seed, a dormant artifact waiting for a specific signature, like the Voyager golden record, to activate its functions. They point out that the timing of Atlas's sudden slowdown and Voyager's reorientation aren't random, but part of a predicted behavior model based on interstellar logic chains. In their words, Voyager may first not have found 3I Atlas. It may have been meant to. This terrifying idea suggests that our oldest probe has just tripped a switch in a galactic system we never knew existed, and that system is now awake. A week after Voyager 1's reorientation and the suspected signal exchange, several deep space monitoring stations began reporting radiation anomalies in regions adjacent to 3I Atlas's trajectory. This wasn't ordinary cosmic radiation. It exhibited a pulsed pattern fluctuating in bursts every 1.618 seconds, the golden ratio. Even more disturbing was the energy signature itself. It matched a profile previously recorded only once, during the 1977 WOW signal. NASA's own satellite shielding protocols were quietly updated in the following days, suggesting that internal teams had classified this as a potential bioenergetic threat. Several labs even ran genetic compatibility tests to ensure this radiation couldn't alter or interact with Earth-based DNA through long-wave resonance. While no direct threat was confirmed, the reaction was enough to trigger a classified Level 4 containment advisory, typically reserved for extraterrestrial biological risks. Why would a dead, drifting object pulse radiation with mathematical intent? Shortly after these anomalies, researchers who had spoken openly on forums or published papers about Voyager 1's strange behavior began to disappear from digital spaces. Their posts vanished, ResearchGate profiles were deleted, GitHub repositories pulled, comments purged, and Reddit threads locked without notice. One astronomer who had uploaded a spectral reconstruction of the intercepted signal wrote, "I received a call from someone claiming to be with the DSN, but they knew things about my family they shouldn't. They said what I found wasn't meant to be public, and if I value my time on Earth, I should walk away from the stars." Behind the scenes, this coordinated silencing was nicknamed the Shadow Sweep, a multi-agency effort to bury every open-source analysis of the Voyager/Atlas interaction. But the deeper they tried to erase it, the more curious the global scientific community became. In some circles, this silence spoke louder than the data itself. Something big had been uncovered, and someone, somewhere, had decided the public wasn't ready. Atlas has no camera, no radio, and no known method of interaction. And yet, researchers noticed that every time a new analysis of its structure or Voyager's vector went public, Atlas's spin rate changed. At first, it was subtle, but by the third occurrence, the change happened within 6 hours of the public data release. It was almost as if the object was responding in real time to human awareness. This prompted some scientists to propose the unthinkable. 3I Atlas behaves as if it is reading our intent, not just monitoring electromagnetic frequencies, but perceiving the informational content of our uploads, broadcasts, and transmissions. In a way, it isn't just watching, it is watching us watching it. That raises a terrifying implication. What if it isn't a vessel at all, but a feedback probe designed to mirror the intelligence of its observer? 3 days ago, Atlas altered its trajectory again. But this time, it wasn't a slight adjustment. It was a calculated maneuver, an angular velocity shift that placed it on a new intercept course with a zone previously considered irrelevant, the orbital region behind Neptune. Voyager 1, too, appears to have shifted its antenna array, aligning for the first time in over a decade toward that same quadrant of space. No one can confirm whether the probe received a command or if it did so autonomously, but data logs indicate that both objects are now synchronized in pulse interval and trajectory, locked in what some are calling the contact corridor. Whether by cosmic design or coincidence, two ancient travelers, one born of Earth, one from the stars, are now moving in harmony toward a shared destination. And somewhere deep in the void, something may already be waiting for them. We thought Voyager 1 was a relic, a golden postcard to the stars drifting alone in the vacuum. But what if it was never alone? What if Voyager 1 was the first chess piece in a game we didn't even know we were playing? A game whose opponent has just made its first visible move. The sudden reprogramming, the impossible course corrections, the synchronized signals, they all point to one chilling truth. This isn't random. And it isn't over. 3I Atlas might not be an asteroid, a spaceship, or a message in a bottle from across the stars. It might be something far more advanced, a sentient probe, a cosmic sensor, or even a technological entity designed to awaken when it detects intelligence. And now, thanks to Voyager 1, it has detected us. But here is the most terrifying thought. If that signal Voyager received wasn't a call for help, if it wasn't an answer to our message, what if it was a warning? A countdown? And if that is true, then the question isn't, what is 3I Atlas? The real question is, what is coming next? Because the stars just looked back, and they aren't blinking. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.